Okay, so let's see what you were able to come up with. So an attribute is a property that can be measured. Today, we're going to determine which properties are affected by rigid transformations. Okay, so the first thing they want us to do is they want us to reflect the trapezoid over the dotted line. So it's not going to be exact, but I'll do what I can. Something like that. So you should have reflected the shape. Then it says list all of the characteristics that stayed the same. So I know from lesson 1 that it's still the same size. If it changes size, it's not a rigid transformation. So the size is the same. The reason the side is the same is because if I were to measure all of these side lengths, they would be equal. So I'm going to put side lengths, right? If this is A and this is B, then A prime has to equal B prime. If this is B and this is C, then B prime has to equal C prime. So if I measure all those side lengths individually, they need to be the same measure. If I were to measure the angles here, the angle measures wouldn't change either. So angle measures, can't just say angle. You need to let me know you're talking about the measurements. If I were to walk around the shape, it's still going to be the same distance. That is the perimeter. If I were to measure the space inside, the area would still be the same. Oh, and the most obvious one is that it still has the same shape. I did not change the type of shape, so it didn't go from a trapezoid to a triangle. So these are the properties that stayed the same. Now, what is different? Well, it's in a different place now. So I moved it from the left side of the line of reflection over to the right side. So I'll change the color here for this one. And that means that the location has changed. When I look at which way my trapezoid is facing, so I always like to look at this short side here. First, the short side of it is facing the left, and then it's facing the right. So if the way the shape is facing changes, that's called its orientation. So if something is first right side up and then you turn it upside down, you've changed its orientation, the way it's facing. And that's really it for what has not stayed the same. So the key idea or conjecture, which I'm going to place on the next slide, but I'm going to go ahead and talk about it right now. The big idea is that when you have a rigid transformation, the size and the shape have to stay the same. But the location and the orientation, they might change. They don't always change, but they might. But you really need to remember that the size and the shape have to stay the same. Otherwise, it's not rigid. You've changed something else. So I'm going to put up the slide for the conjecture. Get that copied into your notes.